Attention, everybody. The views expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. So without any further ado, it's the new gold standard with your host, Tony Hammock. Take it away, Tony.
Boy, there was a lot of energy in that intro.
My job, man.
And you're good at it. You're good at
Energy.
it. Well, good morning, everybody. It's a nice, slick morning out there in Springfield if you're in the Greene County area and stuff. If you're not, stay where you're at until it blows over because it's kind of cold out there. But I'm excited to be here and bring another show from the new gold standard. Got a couple of treats today. One is going to come up about 9:30. I've got a guest calling in. Hopefully she can make it to where she needs to be to do that with these roads. But so we'll do that. And basically, if you've been feeling stressed or have any discomfort or are restless, unfocused, exhausted, or have low energy, you might want to make sure you're with us at the 9:30 hour because that's what this guest is going to talk a little bit about and everything. And because of that, I probably should just jump right into some of the stuff we like to do and get that out of the way before we have that call. One thing is the stewardship course, and I told you last week we were going to start a new one. And I picked one out. I don't know if we've done this one before, but we're going to find out. This is the new stewardship course that I've chosen for the next couple of weeks. And this is the very first devotional. This verse is so often misquoted that it is almost laughable. Many of us have it ingrained in us that money is the root of all evil. But as we examine 1 Timothy 6:10, we learn the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Money is not evil. The love of it is. Having $1 million in your bank account doesn't mean you love it. Having $5 in your account doesn't prove you don't. So how can we tell if we love money? We can start by asking ourselves these questions. Does my pursuit of money interfere with obeying God? Do I always look for something that will benefit me financially regardless of how it affects others? When it comes to helping others, am I more concerned with what my cost will be instead of allowing myself to be moved by compassion? We must check our motives because Paul is telling us that the wrong attitude towards wealth is, in the end, destructive. Notice the vivid language he uses. Through this craving, some have pierced themselves with many pangs and have wandered from the faith. This is a bold statement that essentially says the craving or desire for more and more money can and will lead to ultimate destruction. Money is amoral, neither good nor bad. How we handle our money is the challenge. Let's allow God to use it to guide us, challenge us, and improve us. If we allow Him, He will use this area of life to work in us, making us more like Him every day. Take a moment to offer yourself to God with this prayer. God, I surrender my feelings about money to you. Use it to teach me to trust you, to become more trustworthy, and to meet the needs of others. Shape my desires. Help me to use whatever wealth I have according to your will for your glory. In Jesus' name, amen. So, I like that one. It was kind of short and sweet and gets us on the right track for the next couple of shows. And the reason I like to start with that one is that's the one I don't want to miss, you know, with a speaker coming up, hopefully, or a call-in, I should say, coming up here in about 23 minutes. I like that one, and will always like to keep that included. The other things I like to do is to kind of go over some of the pricing that's out there with the alternative assets. Excuse me. And part of that is we've had so many things already happen this year with, the Mideast going crazy and all these other things going on around the world and stuff like that. What you'll find sometimes is when there's a level of fear, there'll be a flight to safety, as they call it, and sometimes the precious metals are perceived as being those places to go. So at 9:06 this morning, Gold was at $1,557.60. That's an ounce. These next prices are all ounces. Silver is $17.92 an ounce. Platinum is $1,012. Palladium is all the way up to $2,557. And rhodium, oh my goodness, rhodium's up another $100 at $9,700. And I believe what's happening with palladium and rhodium is South Africa, excuse me, where those are mainly mined, has a water issue, and the mining there has stopped, come to a halt. So that gets back into something we've talked about several times on the show, supply and demand. The supply is drying up, so to speak, no pun intended, and the demand is ever increasing, so the price is going up. These next few prices are pounds. Copper is $2.77. Nickel's $6.17. Aluminum is 81 cents. Zinc, $1.10. Lead, 89 cents. And uranium is $24.55. And crude oil is $57.20 a barrel. And so far this morning, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 106 points. It's at 29,302.62. So it's already an active morning out there. Not just the weather and Mother Nature, but the markets. And so I would say stay tuned because we've got a lot of stuff going on. Hey, one thing that just got in my mind, for those of you that watch the show and then watch other shows in the Axe Media Group, if you know Lynn Morris, you might reach out to him. I'm pretty sure I saw on Facebook that today is his birthday. So you might reach out to Mr. Morris and say happy birthday. He is a large supporter of the Axe Ministry and the Axe Media Group and does a lot of good work there in his district and in Christian County. And just a very, very neat gentleman. And then as far as other things that I wanted to get into this morning, you know, we talk a lot about ways to add gold and silver to your life, your portfolio. And, you know, if you've already got 10% of your portfolio in gold and silver, then stay the course. You know, there's no reason to change. It's a good thing. If you don't, you might consider adding them to what you're doing. And the reason being is they have an inverse relationship to, you know, stocks and bonds and all these other financial instruments that are tied to fiat currency. And we've talked about fiat currency before. You know, we've all got fiat currency these days ever since 1971 when President Nixon took us off the gold standard. And all that means is that it's not backed by anything. In fact, the only reason that it's considered worth anything is the government says it is. And depending on what country you're in, your government may or may not be on target. You know, we're fortunate to live in the United States because our government has kept ours at a point where we can still use it to buy goods and services. But what I thought I would do is, you know, we're always talking in and out of this program on this 7K Metals. And 7K Metals is just one of the companies I work with as an affiliate for gold and silver. I like them for a couple reasons, and I'm going to go over 9 of their benefits here in just a second. You know, I just this week have, or I should say over the weekend and now just this week, have started to finalize my plans on a couple of programs for folks that are, you know, having to start with the smallest amounts, which are in gold grams. You know, a gram of gold is about, oh, I don't know, it's about, you take the ounce price and divide it by 31 and there you go. But let's say it's somewhere around, you know, $55, $60. And I bought a gram myself the other day just to kind of test this out. But, you know, I look at it as, you know, there's people out there that, I mean, even if you're adding a gram a month of gold, you know, that's probably like $60 a month. At the end of the year, you'd have 12 grams. It's going to take you about 3 years to have enough grams to have an ounce of gold, but still, depending on what happens to us here in the next 36 months, that may be a good thing. Especially if, like some people think, you wake up some morning and the currency's no longer good, the banks are closed, having a gram, and if you've never seen a gram, it's about the size of your thumbnail. That's what a gram would look like. I'll have mine here hopefully by next week, and I'll show it to you on the screen. But, it's a very small amount of metal. But, you could have a gram a month club. You could have a gram a week club. If you could afford $60 a week, that's what, $240 a month. It's 4 grams a month. You got to figure over the course of a year, that's 52. You'd end up with, roughly an ounce and 2/3. And, after 3 years, I guess you'd have 3 ounces of gold. So, I think that's neat for those that need to start someplace. And there's nothing wrong with that. I know there's been times in my life when I was younger where, I'd start a program with systematic investing, and those first few statements, it's like, a couple dollars. But, 3 years, 4 years goes by pretty quick, and all of a sudden it adds up to something. And I think that's what I want to try and convey as much as possible in this show is I don't care where you're starting. If you're starting at a gram a month or a gram a year, of gold, it's better than not having any. And, if you're a fan of silver, which a lot of people are these days, I sent out a blast email to a lot of my clients on Monday about, silver. And, basically there's a ratio between silver and gold where you look at the price of silver and divide it into the price of ounce of gold, and you get this ratio. And right now the ratio is about 87 to 1. In other words, you could have 87 ounces of silver, and that would total the value of an ounce of gold. And historically, that ratio has been closer to, 60 to 1. And really, in the long term, even less than that. But to go from 87 to 60 on a ratio would be a nice move for silver. Silver, as we just said, was what, $17.55 an ounce. So you got to figure if there was about a 44% increase in that price, that would be a nice profit for those that get in now. And since silver is that much, I don't know if you want to get down to a gram of silver. That's going to be, there again, there's 31 grams in an ounce. So that would be a very, very small amount of silver and a very small dollar amount. But maybe an ounce, at 17, 18 bucks right now, you could start with an ounce of silver a month or an ounce of silver a week, whatever makes sense for you and stuff. So all these plans are things we can put in motion. As I said before, I think it was last week, I have plans from those that are for folks just starting out all the way up to the billionaires. We've already helped a couple of folks that are high net worth with National Gold Consultants and their ability to deal with the pre-1933 coins and some of their advantages, and the different bullion types there are and so forth. So, we are able to help folks from all shapes and sizes and stuff. And what I thought I would do was with 7K, which is how I bought my gram of gold the other day, is let's get into some of the member benefits, just so you're aware of these, because I don't think in some of these shows that I've made some of these clear. And one of them is, if you did decide to get involved with 7K, if you like it, you can share it, and I would urge you to do that because it's a nice way to make some additional income, and you end up with an e-commerce site, a replicated website where your guests can purchase gold and silver at retail prices. And, that's kind of handy. You don't have to go and build your own website or anything like that. You don't have to share it if you don't want to. Keep it to yourself. But, I think it's a neat way to have an additional stream of income. The Auto Saver program, and this is where 7K does all the work for you. Their experts pick the best NGC graded coins and send it to you once a month. Right now, there's 3 different versions of this. The one I participate in is the MS70 Silver Eagle Autosaver, and they also have a one that's a what is it? Different coin each month that's going to be silver, and then they've got one that's a gold one, and the gold one would be the most expensive of the 3. But I got to tell you, it's the discipline that's important here. I mean, if you've got the discipline to go in once a month and make your decision and buy the coin or buy the gold, the bullion, more power to you. Sometimes I don't. It seems like a month goes flying by, and all of a sudden it's the first of the new month. And what's neat about this autosaver program, I've got it set up to go off on the first of the month. By the end of that day, I get a confirmation email saying, hey, your ounce of silver is on its way. And all they've done is they've charged my credit card, and a couple days go by, and I get my little FedEx envelope. In fact, here is last month's, or I should say this month's. This is from January 1, FedEx Express, and I get my coin and the newsletter and all that kind of stuff. Number 3, the travel savings cards. And these are really neat. This is the 7K Getaway. The neat thing about this is if you are on the Coin a Month Club, you get a $125 card with the MS70 Silver Eagle program. And if you're using the card, it's $125 you just saved on some travel. Basically, your silver's free because that program is about $95 a month. If you're getting a $125 card, you're actually coming out $30 ahead, plus you got an ounce of silver. Number 4 is the 7K Limited and Rare Coins. And here again, 7K does the research, and they provide you with the rare and low mintage coin opportunities that sometimes are difficult to find in the market. And the one thing I would say about that is the few times I've tested that out, I'll get a new one, and then I'll go to eBay and plug it in and see what it's going for. And the first one I did was a Spider-Man silver coin last summer. And I kid you not, within about a month, it was on eBay for like $140 or something. Not that I've sold mine. I'm hanging on to it, especially because my kids all like Marvel Comics and Spider-Man and stuff. Number 5, if you are going to share this with people, you could qualify for some 1099 tax advantages. And I always tell people to consult with their tax professional for the specific tax advice, as far as if that works for them and stuff. But you could be, using the tax deductions that go with owning a business. Save your receipts for meals and drinks and other business-related expenses, but do check with your tax professional. And number 6 is the gold-backed IRA. And 7K has partnered with a company called New Direction IRA to provide members with a secure future and retirement investment opportunities. So not only can you take and use the New Direction IRA to provide for your own retirement, but you can share that with other people. Pardon me. Number 7, now this is the one I really kind of wanted to zero in on because, I think last week or the week before we were talking about, there's like 30 million Americans that don't have health care. And, Medicaid is Medicaid. It's one of those things you got to deal with, with the government and the states and all this kind of stuff. But 7K has a health care program. To qualify for it, you need to be involved with 7K. But they've teamed up with the SBA Freedom Healthcare out of Colorado to provide our members with a premium health care plan options. And they have plans for single individuals and for families. And I've checked out their pricing, and it's very reasonable. They've got some nice features in there. I know there's no deductible, and there's no pre-existing conditions that somebody has to worry about. I mean, it's basically set up for small business people, and so that might be reason enough to kind of take a strong look at 7K. And then residual income for a lifetime. If you are sharing the 7K program, as folks are coming on board and getting their gold and silver from you, you could end up establishing a residual income for a lifetime. And then last but not least is the dealer direct pricing, some of the most competitive pricing on gold and silver bullion. And I got to tell you that, in my opinion, would be the number one reason to do this, is that I've checked this out again. You know, hopefully you've found that I'm very skeptical with a lot of claims that companies make. I always like to go out and test them myself, sometimes with my own money, to just make sure they're valid and stuff. And what they've done is they've kind of created this, they've created this club that is a buyer's club. It's kind of like a Sam's Club or a Costco or Amazon Prime, in the fact that you pay a membership fee. It's nominal. And then once you're in, you can buy gold and silver at dealer direct pricing. And I got to tell you, not a week goes by that I don't check it out for something that's going on in my world or a client's world. And sometimes the pricing is amazing. You know, in gold and silver, each of them have a spot price, which is what I quoted before. And I got to tell you that I have to tell you that, pardon me, that the spot price is the price that the mine charges the mint. So it's a price that we go by, but very rarely does anybody ever get that, because once it's at the mint and the mint creates a coin or a bar, then it gets into the distribution system, which means it goes from there to a wholesaler, to a marketer, to a retailer, to, you know, a coin shop. I mean, there's a long list of folks involved there. And some of the pricing I see with 7K is, you know, almost close to spot, which is amazing, depending on the quantity and what it is and stuff. So that might be something to keep in mind. And then, you know, there again, for the folks that are, you know, the higher net worth type folks and stuff, remember the National Gold Consultants, who we've had Ryan Long as a guest speaker a couple times. You know, he is a wholesaler. His company is classified as a wholesaler and is in a wholesaler network. And, you know, so he's out there getting the wholesale prices and stuff. But anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to cover this morning, is a little bit about the member benefits with 7K. You know, you're always welcome to call me at 417-755-0700. My email is tony@thegoldaffiliate.com, and I welcome your emails, questions, constructive criticism, you know, whatever it may be as far as alternative assets. You know, let me know. I'd be happy to help. And then, you know, getting ready for our speaker, who should be calling in here momentarily. And I'm glad Jason came back in the room just in case something doesn't work, but we got the phone connected, so when she calls, hopefully it'll all come through the sound system and stuff. But we've had her on before, and her name is Shelly Hampton. Shelly has been in Springfield for a long time. She owns the Shapeshifters Pilates studio up there at 601 North National. She's been doing Pilates for, gosh, 35 years at least. And back 3 years ago, actually now 3.5 years ago, when I first came across the Beamer, you know, I was suffering from blood sugar regulation problems, and that was one of the things that supposedly, you know, would help with. And to make a long story short, I shared it with Shelly. Shelly did some more research and just got very excited about it. We both have Beamers. Hers, she has there in her studio, unless she's got it out, you know, on an appointment. She has 2 studios, one here in Springfield and then one down in Branson at the Bella Medici Spa there on Highway 248. Don't go too far on 248. You know, when you get off of 65, just go to the right. It's just up the way about maybe, I don't even know if it's a mile. It's on the right-hand side. But she has helped a lot of people in the last 3 years. And we were going to try and have kind of an open house this afternoon, but with the roads and stuff, we've decided that, you know, that probably isn't prudent with it being kind of slippery out there and stuff. That'll be something we'll do for another day. But we'll have her call in here in a moment. And as I said before, if you're suffering from discomfort, restlessness, you're unfocused, exhausted, low energy, stay tuned, because I've got to tell you, she's got some great stories and some great information and stuff. And I know some of you are going, okay, especially if you're a first-time listener, why would you be having something like a medical device and Shelley, Pilates instructor, on your show when you're talking about alternative assets? And one of the reasons I do it is because, you know what, without your health, your wealth just doesn't really matter much. I mean, Voltaire was quoted as saying, most people give up their health when they're young to acquire their wealth, and then, as they move into old age, they start using their wealth to try and recover their health. And, I can identify a little bit with that myself. So, we truly believe that part of your wealth is the quality of your health. And, I can't tell you how many of my clients, they get out and walk in the mornings. They go on nice vacations, especially they're snowbirds. They'll go down south where they can get away from the snow and ice and sleet and stuff, and maintain their running program or their swimming program or horseback riding or, whatever it may be. So, I just think that's one of those things I like to include, so it's kind of a well-rounded show. We'll have Shelley visit with us here in a minute for, 10 minutes or so, and then we'll kind of get in some other things. You know what? If you want, Matt, while Shelley's going to call in here in a second, do you want to use the gold microphone and use that as a chance to? That
would be great, Tony.
Okay. Take it away, Matt.
All right. Well, let me put my face up here. Unfortunately, people got to see my face. Hey, everybody. Matt from the producer's desk here at Axe Media Group headquarters, and you're currently watching The New Gold Standard with Tony Hammock, and I believe he's doing a wonderful job at it. Before he gets his guest on the phone, I want to talk about what today's show is brought to you by. Can you guess, Tony, what today's show is brought to you by?
The solutions, natural solutions, I bet.
Yes, I was going to say, no, AxeMediaGroup.com, and just mess with you, but I decided not to. Today's show, yes, is brought to you by NaturalSolutionStore.bz. Now, on my show earlier, I spoke about the Helping Hands Fund, which is something that we do here at Axe Media Group, Axe Ministry Incorporated. It is a fund that we have funding set aside for people who need these products to get along and to get healthier, but don't have the finances to do so, or enough of the finances to do so. And you can be approved for up to 90% off, where basically this Helping Hands Fund pays for 90% of these supplements. All you've got to do, if you're ever curious, and that sounds like somebody's calling
Shelly
in,
Hampton.
if you're ever curious about it, what I want you to do is go to naturalsolutionstore.bz.
Hello.
And click on the
hang tight,
Helping
Matt's doing
Hands
a
Fund
promotion real quick.
icon at the very
Commercial.
top banner of the screen.
I'll bring you on.
And it tells you all about it, and it also gives you an email address to be able to contact somebody in regards to getting an application. And if you have any other questions in regards to the Helping Hands Fund. So all you got to do is go online, naturalsolutionstore.bz, and click the banner up at the top and email us and get an application. So anyways, it sounds like your guest just called in. So back to you, Tony Hammock.
Matt, thanks a lot. Yeah, Shelley just called in. Shelley, are you there?
I am.
Can you guys hear her okay?
Yes, hello. Is
Hello?
Matt in the studio? Tell Matt hello.
Yeah, he waved at you there. Jason's here, so we've got a full
Okay.
crew and stuff like that. And
Okay.
thank you very much for calling in. I know we had other plans. I've told the audience that we were thinking of having an open house with beamers everywhere and stuff like this, and with the roads and the weather, we decided we'll do that another day. But what I have been telling everybody is, leading up to your call in, is if they feel stressed or discomfort, or they're suffering from low energy, or they're exhausted, they needed to stay tuned for your call, because I got a feeling that's something you want to talk about.
Well, you're 100% right. In fact, just my experience using this medical device has given me kind of a new insight on a bigger picture. And one of the things that I'm noticing is in the world of obesity, which really, if you think about like the head of a hydra, obesity spawns many different health problems. And we are in trouble in terms of obesity, and in the Midwest especially true. But we have 41 states now that is showing a decline in obesity in children, which I think is positive. But we have 93 million Americans who have the issue. And it's $147 billion worth of medical expenses in 2008. It's about $1,429 extra per person if you have the obesity issue in terms of your healthcare spending every year. And it causes heart problems and diabetes and joint problems and many other things. So it's not a single thing in the universe. It causes many other additional problems. But here's what's happening is they're beginning to link up sleep issues with the obesity issue. They used to say, well, lack of sleep won't kill you. But in fact, it certainly can. And sleeping is a gigantic problem in the U.S. In fact, it's interesting to note that state by state, there's a difference in the percentage of people who report less than 7 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period. Kentucky's one of the highest. Colorado, Kentucky's about 40% people report that. Colorado is about 30%. South Dakota, 30%. Missouri is between 32 and 35%. In the people that are under the age of 18, 48% report this problem in Alabama and Georgia and Indiana, places that are mostly in the Appalachian area, and in the Great Plains. We kind of have the lowest in the Great Plains area in the north. But here's another really strange thing. In Nevada, the lower half of Nevada, in people under the age of 18, there's almost 50% report that they have short duration sleep, meaning they go to sleep and they wake up and they can't stay asleep. And so that's another issue. It's not just about not falling asleep. It's about going to sleep and getting awakened, and then falling asleep and getting awakened. And in the morning, you feel like you've been hit by a truck when you try to get out of bed because you never really got good, deep REM sleep. Well, this medical device that we've been working with that we were going to offer for people to come and try today has one of the most fascinating features, a patented feature that allows for really good, deep REM sleep. And it's so superior to anything that I've ever heard about, anything I've ever tried or tested with clients or with myself. It's really a remarkable thing. And when you get plenty of sleep, you tend to have more energy for your life. Of course, that's just kind of a given. But there's other things that happen chemically. And that means the obesity problem is about, too much intake of food, but it's also about hormonal levels. And if you have high levels of cortisol and stress chemicals in your system because you're not getting enough sleep, not getting enough exercise, probably not eating the best of foods, those kind of things can really work against you when it comes to weight loss or maintaining an ideal weight. So when you put all of it together, when you put it together in one big bowl and mix it up, you're talking about the very things that you said. If you want better energy, if you don't want the aches and pains, and if you are interested in just feeling livelier, I love that word, just being a little more lively during the day, there's a way to do that without drugs. And it doesn't really take much more than 8 minutes a couple of times a day, which is a remarkable thing. And I think this device just answers all of that. It just does a fantastic job of answering all of those problems.
Well, you said the magic word there, drugs, because, I was kind of looking over a few things, knowing that hopefully I'd have you on the show and stuff, and I was kind of refreshing my memory and stuff, and I came across that part where, they talk about how many drugs the U.S. citizens take. I mean, I don't know if you folks know this or not, but, as Americans, there's like, 233 million of us or something like that, and we consume more prescription drugs than like the next 12 countries by size combined. And their populations are totaling over 900 million. Mm-hmm. So we've got, less than a third of what they've got people-wise, but we consume more in prescription drugs than they do. And then here was the thing that I wasn't aware of. This information I was looking at actually through this end. I'm sure Shelley knows this, but and we have a shorter lifespan. As Americans, our lifespan is like number 40 in the world. There's 39 other countries you could live in and live longer than
Wow.
you can by living in the United States.
How fascinating.
So,
I like the idea of discussing this longevity thing because, you know, I'm in the last half of my life. And I've got to tell you that a lot of my clients are too. And when we discuss these issues of health, a lot of the discussion is about staying functional, you know, staying mobile, being vertical against the pull of gravity, ongoing, maintaining, you know, a level of health that is conducive to enjoying the last half of life. And frankly, I think everybody knows this, but it's worth saying. You have to work at it. It's not probably going to come just by cheeseburgers, French fries, and parking in front of a TV. You're going to have to do some things with regard to the way you eat, the way you move, and basically the way you think. A lot of that has to do with it. But there's many tools that we can pick up and use to enhance our experience of the last half of life. And that's what this medical device does in the home. People can use it in the home. You don't have to go somewhere and use it. It's a fantastic thing. And the ability for the body to maintain higher levels of health is dependent on what we've been talking about, nutrition. But there's this extra thing that we never hear about much in the medical world, and that is the electromagnetic field inside and outside of every single cell in your body. And you have 100 trillion cells. And so you've got a lot of cells, and 3/4 of those cells are fed by your small, tiny, smaller than a hair vessels that are considered to be the microcirculatory system, and you have 74,000 miles of those in every single body. If you took them out and wrapped them end to end, they'd go around the earth 2.5 times. So if those micro vessels are sluggish, not serving up enough nutrition and oxygen to the cell, if the cell wall has an improper electromagnetic field inside and outside of it, then you're not getting oxygen and nutrition into the cell. And furthermore, you're not getting toxins removed from the cell. Now that cell is in trouble. And you get enough of those going, which can happen through toxicity, can happen through aging, trauma, illness, all kinds of reasons. And we know aging is certainly part of it, and that's kind of the group we're talking to today, anybody who's aging, which is everybody. But, you know, the reality is if those cells get fed, your experience of life is going to be better. If those cells get detoxed, your experience of health is going to be better. And that's what we're talking about with this device, is it certainly assists in doing all of those things.
well, and that's a lot of the science and stuff, which, you know, you and I both know that is amazing, especially if somebody, you know, ever gets involved with Beamer and, you know, decides to go to one of their academies. I know they've got an academy coming up in Kansas City. I want to say it's March 20th and 21st, somewhere around there this year. And
I've heard of this. I think I'm going to make it a point today while I'm iced in to get online for that.
yeah, which leads me to something I kind of wanted to mention before we, you know, get closer to the end of our time together. You know, Shelley's down there at Shapeshifter Studio, 601 North National, and she got her Beamer, I want to say, in January of 2017.
Correct.
And I know you've shared it with a lot of folks in those 3 years.
Oh my gosh, hundreds and hundreds.
But
And the story, I could go on all day with the stories of how fabulous it is.
well, and where I was going with this is that, you know, after 3 years and there being a lot of Shelleys through the country, I mean, you know, Beamer has added a number of distributors throughout the country. They're in all 50 states. Now they're in Canada. They're really in 40-some countries because this isn't new. This has been in Europe since 1998. So, you know, we're talking about a product and a company that is proven. It's not on trial here. I mean, it has helped a lot of people, several million people probably in the entire world. But where I'm going with this is, even after 3 years, there's only something like 50,000 people in the country that have a Beamer. And
We need to change that.
well, and my point at where I'm going with this is, slow as it sounds like it's taken me and stuff, is that Shelley needs help. I mean, if you're in the listening audience and you need another stream of income, or you are passionate about helping other people, or you've got one of these issues that you'd like to address on your own, or you've got a family member, a loved one, a friend, you know, I mean, I would get a hold of Shelley and go through a presentation and see how you can get involved. Because I will tell you that the folks that do get involved with Beamer and decide to share it and use it as a business opportunity, some of them are making a nice living. You know, others are not because they've got other things going on and so forth. But I know that there are some and stuff. And Shelley, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
They would. There's a couple of ways. You can contact me through a website for the Shapeshifters Pilates Studio. That website is shapeshifterspilates.info, not .com. It's shapeshifterspilates.info. And then a second way is to call me. I love the calls that just come directly on my cell phone. It's 417-496-2664. 417-496-2664. And then the other way is to call the studio number, and that is 417-890-6749. And to back up what you were saying, we do all the training. All of the training is provided for sales reps for this company, and distributors is what we are called. And it's really a very in-home based business. You don't have to rent an office, or, you know, there's no humongous investment in terms of starting the business. And really you just end up letting people taste test the Beamer. So you just allow them to come on to the Beamer and see what it's like and explain what's going on. The second Thursday of every month, we do training programs, or basically education dinner, sort of, at the Hilton Garden Inn in Springfield. And that one coming up the second Thursday in February. It starts at 6:30 that evening, finishes at 8. And you're welcome to come. We have wine and hors d'oeuvres, and so you can kind of eat a little dinner when you're there if you're coming from work. And we're able to give some samples so people can try the Beamer while they're there, and they can also ask questions. And, you know, it's really a good time. We've had a lot of good responses with folks who are able to show up at that event, and it's always the second Thursday of the month. And it's best if we know that you're coming, so you can call me at 417-496-2664 and let me know. And that's it.
Well, and a couple quick things I'm going to throw in real fast here is one, maybe it's not the Beamer. Maybe it's the Pilates. Because I got to tell you, this last weekend, you know, sometimes when there's a 3-day weekend, you know, it gives me a chance to work on some other projects I've got. And one is always trying to get rid of this gut of mine. And I got to tell you, I haven't shared this with you except, you know, now on the show here. But this last weekend, I was looking at this one solution I'd come across, and the guy was talking about, you know, the worst thing you can do is set-ups or crunches because, you know, it can hurt other parts of your body and your shoulders and your neck. And I kid you not, Shelley, the procedure or the exercise he wanted me to use was something called the oyster. And I got to looking at it, and it's a Pilates move, which I thought of you. I was like, oh my gosh, she probably has people in her studio doing things like this all the time.
Yeah, Pilates is a really fabulous way to condition the core, and it brings the awareness into the core. I think mostly Americans don't really own anything below the chin, but we really start to develop a body awareness. And when you start to really get focused into the center of your system, it's very uncomfortable to overeat beyond that point. I mean, you notice it more. And so it becomes not just an exercise, it's a way to move energy through the system. You know, Pilates core work, there's 500 moves, and all 500 are basically, they're not curl-ups and crunches really. They're basically core conditioning moves that move the entire remainder of the body at the same time. So you use your core in a way that supports additional movement, and that creates something totally different. Here's something fascinating about the Pilates work. A great portion of it has to do with fascia. You have enough fascia tissue that if we took all of your bones and your muscles out, your body would still retain pretty much its same shape because of the fascia. Fascia starts to develop 14 days into gestation, into the gestational period. So it's one of the oldest tissues in your body. And fascia has blood flow, lots of it. And when we move the muscles create an electrical charge. That charge is sent into the fascia, and it's delivered from the fascia at the speed of light in one direction only, which is the definition of a semiconductor, to your organs. So when you move your muscles, you create an electromagnetic charge that goes through the fascia and feeds into the organs. If you're not moving, your organs are not being fed through that process, that electromagnetic energy. So it's more than just getting fit and strong and trim and, flexible. It's about feeding the system. Movement is life, and it's really a wonderful way to get healthy in general. Pilates covers all of that territory.
Well, and one of the things I thought I'd throw in here is all the different benefits of the BEMER, because the BEMER is just a adjunct to what you do and stuff. Over the last couple of years, I've seen so many people either in your studio or at the different seminars and functions and stuff like that. And what's amazing is neither Shelley nor I can give what they call third-party testimonials. I mean, I can tell you mine, and she can tell you hers, but I got to tell you, if you show up to like this event at the Hilton Garden Inn the second Thursday of February, there's oftentimes people there that have been clients of Shelley's for years, and in some cases have the BEMER or have used the BEMER in her studio, and sometimes they'll stand up and, tell everybody there, how it's affected their life and stuff. And some of these folks are, people that you might recognize from around town and Branson and so forth. But BEMER, here's what gets me. It's not just a one-trick pony, so to speak. BEMER enhances general blood flow, nutrition and oxygen supply, cardiac function, sleep management, like Shelley talked about before, waste disposal, physical fitness, endurance, concentration, mental acuity, and stress reduction and relaxation. That's what, 10 different benefits from one
plus
thing?
ATP production in the cells, which is why there's 3 BEMERs in the San Francisco football team's training room, and several of the Kansas City players use BEMERs on their own in their own homes. You can't imagine how in love the athletic community is with the BEMER. It's phenomenal.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I saw the other day someplace that the NFL Players Alumni Association have struck up a relationship with BEMER. So
that's a fact. In fact, George Veronis, who is the national director, is the one who met with them, and he told me that basically those folks are in such trouble with so many health conditions, the retired members of the NFL, and the BEMER answers so many of those problems, the brain, the harshness of the injuries to the brain and the joint problems. And he said that it's a match made in heaven.
Well, and here's the thing. We are not supposed to be disease specific, and we haven't been, but I will tell you this, that from what I understand, if you can enhance the blood flow, especially the circulation in those microvessels that Shelley was talking about, the human body is incredible. It is. Yeah. Shelley's seen firsthand. In fact, I don't know if you feel comfortable with this, but I know that someone dear to you recently had some surgery, and you had one fact about the oxygen in their blood flow that I thought was amazing. Is that something you're okay mentioning?
It's my ex-husband, who we've been ex-partners for 24 years, so we've maintained a good friendship, and he had to have an open heart surgery and replacement of an aortic valve. It's a fairly serious surgery. Chest comes open, new valve in place. It's really a tough one. And you know, they've gotten so good at this sort of thing. But what the surgeon said to me at the end of the surgery, he was giving us the report of how it all went. He said, I'm really amazed that his oxygen levels never dropped. He said, with the valve that bad, because the valve itself was in terrible trouble. He only had 2 flaps, should have 3, and there was plenty of plaque buildup on the 2 that were remaining because of aging and whatever. And he said, it's one of the worst valves I've ever worked on, and yet he didn't ever have chest pain, and he never had, his oxygen levels never dropped. And this surgeon was heading into another surgery, so we didn't have a lot of time. But I said, well, I think that's got to be the fact that he's been using this Beamer medical device. And, you know, it keeps the oxygen flow to the tissues up pretty good. And he said, the what? You know, he didn't really know what it was. I gave him a little bit of information, and we've scheduled another appointment to continue that discussion because he had to go. But, you know, he was thoroughly impressed. He said to me, I've never seen that before.
Wow. We've got about 2 minutes. Once again, if somebody wants to reach out to you, Shelley, how would they do that?
Through phone number 417-496-2664 or through the website for shapeshifterspilates.info. It's not a .com website. It's shapeshifterspilates.info.
Well, and there you have it. I am thrilled that you were able to jump on today, and I know we'll talk, you know, later in the week and stuff. We'll try and redo the open house idea maybe next week or somewhere in the future. But,
sounds good.
Yeah, once again, remember the second Thursday in February, Shelley will be at the Hilton Garden Inn at what is it, about 6:30 that evening?
Yeah, it starts at 6:30 to 8. And
Okay.
call me to let me know at 417-496-2664 if you can come.
Okay. Well, be safe out there, and we will talk to you later. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tony.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And I've got about a minute or so to wrap up here. So in summary, you know, I like to have different speakers on, sometimes live, sometimes over the phone, just to kind of mix things up. And I got to tell you, if you haven't experienced Pilates, or if you haven't experienced an 8-minute session on this device called the Beamer, you need to give it a try. And even if you've got pets, we didn't get into that, but I will say this, that it works with pets also. So anyway, I am thrilled to be here. Thank you, Jim and Pam Whining. Thank you, Dr. Paul Collins, for allowing us to come on here weekly and have a show and so forth. You know, I guess my objective is that somewhere in the future you've got some gold and silver in your possession, and you know, if anything ever kind of goes crazy in the economy and stuff, and you need to use those to survive, that you know, you remember you heard it here. And then hopefully by using somebody like Shelley's talents with the Shapeshifter Studio, you live long and prosper and can benefit from those for a long, long time and stuff. So I think we're about out of time. Thank you very much. You guys have a great one. Be careful out there. We'll see you next week. Thank you.